Welcome to a cozy watercolor session. Today we are drawing a crested gecko in a wizard costume. My muse is Blaze, my crested gecko. I refined it in Procreate. It just really helped those colors pop. I walked over to a nearby lake and just started sketching. I was totally inspired by all the little turtles and baby gators in this pond. My little Cresty reminds me of a dragon. Crested geckos just really are mini dragons. Despite the cold, I had to come outside and draw today. It's just so beautiful. If you look at the original illustrations for like How to Train Your Dragon, Toothless is actually like super tiny and kind of wormy. These little geckos just really remind me of that. Our drawing tools of choice today. Now that I have the basic sketch, I'm just going to start using a kneaded eraser to kind of make it slightly invisible. It helps to just kind of see it clearly when I'm inking. It makes the process a lot smoother. I love that these guys are called the eyelash gecko. I think that's just so adorable. I love drawing the little mouths. They look like little dinosaurs or velociraptors. I'm using a Copic fine liner. It says 0.1, but I bought a replacement nib that made it 0.7. I'm super bummed that they don't really make these anymore. I loved how Copic just made them super customizable. Copic does actually still sell their fine liners, you just can no longer customize them. So if you buy a 0.1, it's gonna stay a 0.1, and you have to buy a 0.2 if you want a 0.2, etc. But I still love them. Yes, please don't come after me. I do absolutely love Copic. I remember there was this stationery shop I used to go to in downtown LA. It was called Tops, and I would get to buy my one Copic marker. And I kind of moved away from the color sets and leaned into the fine liners because I really started watercoloring when I hit middle school. I'd always kind of done watercolors, but I just found like the old illustrations of the 1800s, specifically of like Beatrix Potter's work. I absolutely adore anything to do with animal illustration, wildlife illustration. This is kind of my cup of tea. It's just, I love drawing animals in clothes and little scenes. I am incredibly inspired by Beatrix Potter's work. As a child, I always had a little book inside my bag that was Peter Rabbit or Mrs. Tiggywinkle or A Tale of Two Bad Mice or Sir Nutkin, and I would just stare at the illustrations for hours and hours, and my sketchbooks would just be filled of little creatures and animals, and I'd have all these little worlds and stories I'd create for these animals to live in. I love Copic's fine liners because it gives more of a dipped ink feeling. It's kind of an uneven flow, but like in a good way, and it gives off that very antique look. If you decide to draw along with me, definitely like take a picture and share it. I would love to see your work. It's so much fun to get to just draw and hang out with other artists or just kind of work and listen to these cozy talks. I usually listen to podcasts or other things while I draw. It's super fun. Probably wondering why I named my crested gecko Blaze. He's named after a neighbor that I had. He was this really eccentric, cool old guy. He lived in my backyard, essentially. It was this really cute, like, double bungalow property, and he and his wife were just super spunky and energetic. They were both in, like, their 90s. Yeah, he's passed away now, but he just left such an impression on me as a kid, and his name was just so cool. My gecko, his name spelling is a little different. So my neighbor's was named after Saint Blaze, which was Blaise. And my little guy, he's more like a blaze, like a fire, Blaze. Now, I still say that he's named after Saint Blaze just because Saint Blaze is such a cool person. My little gecko, he is a cream flame Dalmatian. His spots on his back look a lot like embers rising into the atmosphere, so that's where I got the inspiration for his name. He is just the sweetest little guy, though. If you're looking at getting a reptile, I highly recommend a crested gecko. They are the easiest to take care of. They're the most mellow and sweet. You can easily tame them. He is extremely cuddly and affectionate. He loves to hunt crickets, which is just so much fun to watch. Although it feels sometimes like the Hunger Games or like the Colosseum. I'm just like throwing these calcium covered bugs in this tropical like humidity haven. I watch it and I'm like, oh no, it's this little buggy sacrifice. But at the same time, it's really satisfying to see my gecko like hunt and catch it. And I cheer a little bit, but like kind of quietly because I don't want to scare him. I know it's like, yeah, it's hard because I also do like catch and release of bugs. So it's like, where do I draw the line? I don't know where I draw the line. I mean, I catch spiders and I take them outside. I literally caught a brown recluse in my bedroom one time, and I took it outside. I should not have done that. That was stupid. But it is what it is. Anyways, what are your weird bug stories? I have way too many to count. Well, I recently purchased this square sketch pad that I'm working in today, and it's just so tactile. It's a mixed media paper, and I highly recommend it because it takes ink and pencil really well. I spilled a little bit of water on it earlier, and it held up beautifully. I was happily surprised. These little mushrooms were kind of a last-minute add-on. I just love little mushrooms. I love eating them. We have a lot of weird ones that grow here in Florida. They grow everywhere and anywhere. I have seen them literally grow on the sides of rocks. Yeah, Floridians are really spoiled by all of the really cool flora everywhere. I mean, we have the most amazing orchids. I go to the botanical garden and just hang out in the greenhouse to paint and draw their orchids. It's a magical place. This is my baby Bubbles. I'm going to finish up the ink here and start erasing all of the pencil lines. Now we can start preparing to color our painting. Make sure you always sign your work. It is very important to know who did it. This is the brush that I use for most quick illustrations. It's a travel Faber-Castell brush. It's a medium-sized nib. I like it because it just easily screws off. You can fill this with water. It holds a pretty good amount. And then this is tube that it goes through. It's nice and clean. I can just keep the brush inside my pack. This is a Winsor Newton travel kit. It's fantastic. We're going to start with a light blue wash, and once it's dry, we're actually going to use a dark blue, almost like a deep royal blue, to make his robes feel heavier, like satin. I wanted it to look like he is in a very cold region, specifically Ireland. He's just taken up an apprenticeship and he needed to have some extremely warm clothing. He's probably studying inside castles that have damp walls. I want his little arms and feet though to be a little exposed because he's got to use his sticky pads to be able to walk on walls. He probably sleeps in the attic of the castle. But he likes to also cozy up with warmth. That's why he's carrying a lantern with him, because he's got to keep himself a little bit regulated. Otherwise, he might just freeze up and turn into a little statue. It got unexpectedly cold in Florida, so I was rescuing little lizards and geckos that hadn't been able or managed to be able to find a place to stay warm. And so they were all in the house, and I was like, oh, like trying to keep them alive. But all of them were like little statues. They were so cold and still. And once they were warmed up, though, they were super alive and energetic. It was really adorable. But yeah, just keeping Blaze warm during all of that was super stressful. I had blankets. My sister has freshwater fish, so she had duvets. She and my brother would shift the whole like fish tank to the center of the room and put a duvet over it to keep the fish alive because it just got cold. And a lot of the buildings in my town are older. They're from like the 1920s, 30s. A lot of them are stone or wood, or like old homes tend to be very drafty. And you think it's sealed, but it's not. And so the house was actually a lot colder even than it was outside at times, because our house particularly is made out of stone. So it's awesome in the summer. Keeps you so like cozy and cool, but because of it being winter, it just was like an Arctic tundra. And the problem is, if you've got tropical animals, they're not going to survive in that. So anyways, yeah, I had to keep my dwarf frogs warm, so I had like blankets and jackets over them. And for Blaze, I have this like felt the carrier for him, and I put him in there with a warm rice sock that my mom made for him, like in a split second, and we warmed it and put a blanket over it, and he just sat on that, like totally splooted, hands stretched. It was the cutest thing. Watercolor is actually a really fantastic medium because you can kind of paint outside of the lines and it will dry pretty opaque. And if it dries pretty dark, you can actually just kind of, go at it with a little bit of water and dab it up, and it's practically disappeared. You can also clean it up with a little bit of paint, like acrylic paint or Posca markers. Painting in between each individual star is so zen. I was actually kind of stressed about this part because I will be making the stars yellow, and I really didn't want the blue to mix in and make them green stars. I mean, I have nothing against green stars. One of my favorite colors is green, but I just, yeah, color within the lines. Blaze has been asleep for hours. I continuously forget that he is nocturnal, and I just want to hold him and have him like sit next to me all day. He is really cute. He's currently wrapped in a little leaf, snoozing away. There's a cricket staring down at him on his little cork stick thing. What is that called? Mocking him. I should do a series of these paintings and do one of him eating a fried cricket on a stick. Blaze wore the sorcerer hat way better. He would be a better apprentice. He wasn't gonna, like, imagine the flood damage. Oh my gosh, the sorcerer is so nice. So nice. Mickey just had to sweep it all up in the end. That's incredible. For those who have not seen the Sorcerer Mickey short, it is in the original Fantasia from the 1940s, and chef's kiss. It is beautiful, stunning piece of media. My question is though, who wore it better? Blaze, my crested gecko, or Mickey Mouse? I'm biased, so I'm personally going to say Blaze. It wore it better, but for you Disney fans out there, I totally understand. Absolutely. You will hear from Blaze's lawyer. Anyways. No, seriously though, if you don't know though where this hat is from, it's from the film Fantasia, which was very big project for the Walt Disney Company. It was all classical music accompanied with animation. It was absolutely stunning. And it was interesting because the public didn't quite understand how to take it in, they were like, oh, this is cool, it's a fine art piece. But Walt wanted to make something that was more sophisticated, that was more like adult based, honestly, like anime. And people didn't understand, the American audience didn't understand how to take it in. But now it's just absolutely praised amongst the animation community. I absolutely loved Fantasia 2000. I watched that until my CD absolutely just broke. It was dead, and my mom had to buy a digital version. I was obsessed with the flamingo with the yo-yo. It was this adorable piece where I don't even remember what the classical piece was. I gotta think about that. Oh no, I can't believe I forgot. But it basically is these pink flamingos, and one of them has a yo-yo, and the whole flock is just absolutely annoyed with him because he does all these tricks. He like almost hits them, he drops the yo-yo, he's just super hyperactive. Now, I will not tell you the ending, I don't want to spoil it, so if you're interested, definitely check it out. I think it's on Disney Plus. Once I get all of the flat color done, I'm gonna get to do shading and definition. That's really my favorite part because it just makes the character you're painting come to life. I also love doing the eyes and putting the little like anime shines in the eyes, little sparkles. I'm curious what other people love to paint. What are your guys' favorite parts? Definitely leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your opinions. Well, luckily, the 80-degree weather has returned to Florida. We had so much cold weather, and I heard that some places got 10 inches of snow. That is just incredible. For those that are not in sunny Florida, I can only imagine it is still absolutely freezing in this beautiful month of February. I went on a walk today and wore shorts and a t-shirt. It was absolutely wonderful. Now, of course, I do love going to snowy regions. I mean, I'm a wildlife illustrator. I love to paint the little wolves and deer. I love painting a snowy scene all day long. But when it comes to where I live, at the moment, I appreciate Florida's warm atmosphere. I definitely was raised in warmer climates, so I'm guessing it's just that's what my body's used to. I really wanted his cuffs to look kind of fluffy, but also, or maybe it was more like the fabric. Like I wanted it to feel more, you know what? No, I wanted it to feel like velvet. That's what it was on his cuffs. Like this is the softest, coziest outfit. Like Blaze chose a Snuggie to do his apprenticeship in the medieval ages. He essentially wore his duvet or blanket to his job interview and totally aced it. I imagine he's probably studying how to refine his fire magic, his fire bending. He's like a character in Avatar. You know, you got your water benders, your air benders. He's like, I'm the fire bender. Rah. And maybe he's like trying to discover more about his dragon ancestry. Definitely. He's like, I don't look like any of the other geckos in Florida. I must be different. And then he watched How to Train Your Dragon over my shoulder and was like, that's me, Mom. I'm a dragon. That's me. And so I was like, okay, baby. And he found some scraps in my fabrics drawer and was like, I'm gonna go study fire in Ireland. And I am all for studying abroad, but I was like, Blaze, Ireland is freezing. And he was like, oh, it's fine, I can totally handle it. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I've been there. It's cold. Ireland is one of the most beautiful countries I've ever visited. It is my favorite place. My grandparents used to live in Kinsale, Ireland. Absolutely stunning little village. I was like, when I came to visit, I was like, you know what? I could die here. I could live out the rest of my life and be very, very happy. And like, yeah, Ireland's just, it's a beautiful green place. Anyways, Blaze has got to be fine. He'll be fine. Totally. I told him his first spell he's got to learn is the teleportation spell so that he can see me every single weekend. Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening to my tangent. Anyways, I am now painting his little stuff, as you can see. I wanted to do like a darker wood. The funny thing with watercolor though is like when you mix the colors, it will be on the paper and it looks super dark, and then it dries extremely light and opaque. Like you can see as I've been working, like when I first started on Blaze's head, it was a bright saturated yellow, but since it has dried, it's become more of a burnt umber yellow. So whenever you're mixing watercolors, you have to constantly be thinking, okay, how is this going to dry? Is it going to dry the color I want? So a lot of times when I'm color mixing, I have to think about all of the ways it's going to look. It definitely helps to pre-mix your colors. The nice thing is if your watercolors do dry out, you can reactivate them with water. It's a very user-friendly medium. I use watercolor as my primary medium because it is so easy to work with. I can do a project and then, leave it for a day or two and come back and my pre-mixed paints still work. They're still saturated. I do oil painting and acrylics and pastels. And the issue is usually when you're doing a painting, like you can keep your colors that are oil or acrylic, you can keep them wet for a little while, but they do get a little crispy after a couple days, whereas watercolors, they can completely dry out and you can just reactivate them and they are the same as they were several days ago. I also always loved looking at Studio Ghibli's concept art with Miyazaki's watercolors. They're so magical and expressive. And I love being able to see the medium that he used. There were a couple documentaries they made about Miyazaki and the studio, and one of them, I don't remember which one it was, they film his process of watercoloring, and I thought it was the most magical thing. His technique really inspired me in high school, and I took a lot of notes from it, and it has helped improve my watercolor skills. Definitely when it comes to painting illustrations quickly. I would watch Miyazaki just pull out these adorable illustrations and little cartoon sketches, and it really helped me figure out how to get an idea down quickly with color and expression, that it wasn't just about the lines or the ink, but it was also the paint strokes that animated your character or a scene. I love looking at Sherlock Hound's illustrations. It's like early Miyazaki work, and all of the chase scenes that were concept art pieces, and they were all just the most expressive watercolor scenes of UK neighborhoods, and London, and I was just like, oh, this is awesome. Especially like, you know, having my grandparents live in London and everything, I really connected with it. But what about you guys? What artists just absolutely inspire you and have helped you with your techniques and drawing styles? Speaking of drawing styles, you know, it took me a long time to figure out what style I draw in, and there's a lot of conversation and debate about whose art style is whose and how do you draw or how do I draw. And my best advice to give to artists is that it comes to you like Ollivander's shop, where it's like, you know, the wand chooses the wizard. And you technically already do have a style if you are searching for that right now. It's something that is a little bit of what you've learned and that special spark that you give to your artwork. And don't despair if you are like, oh, I don't think I have a style and I don't see the style. I guarantee if you ask your friends or family to look at your sketchbook, or if not your sketchbook, because I know that can be very private, or your artworks, I guarantee family or friends can pick it up right away. I used to think that I didn't have an art style, and people would tell me, no, I walk into a gallery and I know exactly which piece is yours. Which to me, I was like, oh no, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I can see your work is the worst piece in the gallery. I can see a scribble from a mile away. No, don't worry. It was always okay. I mean, I've always kind of painted and drawn like this. I mean, it's predictable. I'd have professors come and they would give assignments at college, and they'd give us the project, and I would look at them and I'm like, can I draw animals? And they would be like, yes, Gwen, yes, you can draw animals. And I was like, thank you so much. My portfolio is just full of either wildlife illustration or animals in fun costumes, and because honestly, it's just more fun. I mean, I can absolutely draw the human form, but animals are just more fun. They have tails, and you can paint scales or fur. Their eyes are different. Like some animals have square pupils, other animals have just straight lines. They have unique colors and cool looking hands and arms and legs, and some of them have hair like horses, and they all have their own personalities. Like Bubbles here. Bubbles loves to watch me draw. She is the bestest girl. But yeah, animals, they also have a different like expression to them. You know, drawing people, there is a limitation. There is absolutely a limitation. Whereas if you've got the entire animal kingdom at your disposal, it's unlimited possibilities. Like, what was it? If you have 10 Lego pieces, it's infinite possibilities. That's how it is with drawing with the animal kingdom. Most definitely. Oh my goodness. The first week I had Blaze, he looked like a little banana. He was the size of one of those small bananas that you can get at the grocery store. There's like regular sized bananas, and they're the ones that are they're 3 inches long. They're they're babies, and they're much sweeter as well. But he just kind of looked like that. Like every time I looked at Blaze, I was like, oh, he looks like a little banana. His name almost was Banana, but I realized I needed to go with something way cooler. He was just such a cool guy. And I knew a cat named Banana, and she was absolutely nuts. So I did not want my little man to be absolutely nuts either. Yeah, but it's really cute. Now he looks more like a small pastry. Like he looks like an eclair or like a little hot dog bun with mustard on it. The marking on his back, that's why he's called a cream flame, because of his color. So like when he's totally relaxed, he is white with, or like kind of a light whipped cream color with little black flecks all over him, and this really cool like squiggle like all the way up his back. And but when he fires up, which means like when he's at his most colorful, he is bright banana yellow, and all of his spots look like brown spots on a banana. It's the funniest thing and the cutest thing. And it just gave me the giggles when I saw him, because I got him at a show that was local in town. Blaze is a rescue. A gentleman found him at a park with like, I don't know if he was in like just a little enclosure, and someone just had left him there. It was really sad, but now he's with me and he's living a very good life. Here is the iridescent medium that I'm using for the final glittery touches for this piece. He has to look extra magical and extra sparkly. This is by Holbein. It's a Japanese company. All of their supplies are just the best. I love working with Holbein products. I started working with them when I was attending college, and I have never looked back. I do use some Faber-Castell and Winsor Newton. They are fantastic as well, but Holbein's colors are just very, very rich. They are archival, and their non-toxic paints a lot of them are archival, which is great. They're light fast. It's really great. I couldn't recommend Holbein's products enough. Their gouache is also really awesome too. I had to use gouache for a lot of projects in school, and yeah, Holbein, it's just the best. Just adding some glittery last touches before I let it dry and scan it in. But look at that shine. Look at it. So shiny, so sparkly. Last is scanning it in and refining it with Procreate. I just used a digital brush for the background. And that, my friends, is the end of our cozy talk. I hope you've all just had a wonderful time, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye-bye!